just love our introduction. I just love it.
So Tim bopping his head.
No, we need to release that as a you get what you get single or something. Oh my goodness. Hello everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Rick Hampton with my great friends Tim Turner and McDougal coming to you on a Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's having a great week so far. We're going to be joined later in the show by one of our great friends and one of America's great sports writers, D. Orlando Ledbetter. But we got some stuff we're going to talk about until D-Led joins us. And it's like, who's going to win the fashion contest at the draft, which is going to be held in the Detroit, Michigan, my city this
Let me see that hand jive again. The what? The
D.
Okay.
I mean, and I tell you guys, today's Tuesday, and getting around downtown is already a mess. Everything's blocked off down there, but people around here are excited to have the NFL draft come, and the city fathers here in Detroit are excited to show off the rebirth of the city. They have poured millions of dollars into the downtown area, and I've been here almost 30 years now. It's just a completely different city when you go to downtown Detroit now. From when I first came here, it was like a ghost town. So Detroit's going to be showing off this weekend.
I got to come back. I used to go a lot when I was a kid because, everybody's got cousins in Detroit, right? So,
yeah. Hey, everybody's from Detroit.
Everybody's got cousins or relatives or something.
Hey, everybody from Detroit is from Alabama. Every black person in Detroit from Alabama or Georgia. So,
the Great Migration.
I mean, but seriously, it was part of the Great Migration. People coming here to get those General Motors jobs, the Ford jobs, and Chrysler. A lot of families were able to build their lives working in those places.
So maybe you'll invite Tim and me back so that we can, experience the rebirth.
Absolutely. The first place I'm going to take y'all is to the Motown Museum. That is just an incredible history and artifacts they have there. And they have actually remodeled expanded the museum. The original structure and everything is still there, but they've added a second addition to the Motown Museum, and a lot of music is there.
Is that where they have a stuffed Bubbles in there?
Bubbles?
Yeah, the Michael Jackson.
I don't know if that was
Dang, Tim.
I didn't know, because I know they started.
I got Bubbles in.
Michael's glove is there for sure. And those bubblegum outfits the Jackson 5 used to play, where they're just wild colored outfits.
Oh yeah,
they have.
You got those. I think Tim still has some of those in your closet, right, Tim?
I do. The wide lapels, when the wind blows, they slap you in the face. I got some.
I just assumed you did. I don't know your closet, but I just assumed you
that's
did.
one. I think I had Easter. It was one for Easter. But you're talking about how Alabama and Georgia and Detroit, you just slide over a couple of states. I lived in Mississippi. Everybody in Mississippi has
Mississippi.
At Chicago, I-55 north and south. Folks just kept running up and down there. So
that's true. That's true, Tim.
And I hadn't been to Detroit since I think Clinton was running for president. He spoke at the NABJ. And I think Spike Lee introduced him and said something, made a joke about George Clinton, saying that's the only thing the folks in that room knew. And then Bill singing over there to the side, writing that joke down, saying he's gonna use it with his next audience of my people. But yeah, Detroit, when back then, all you had was the Renaissance Center, and then as far as I could see, was 1955.
Yeah, absolutely. And you remember back then, speaking of Bill Clinton, that's why when everybody was saying that he was the first Black president, well, I never said that, but that was one of the...
That's what the people said.
Yeah, because I think he went on Arsenio Hall one night and played his sax. Oh, he can play a sax, so he must.
That's all it took.
That's all it took. Yeah. No policy. He can play a saxophone.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the draft is coming up, and you know the thing, it has become a tradition at the draft, and you know the NBA draft also, where cats got on these outfits, man, and I don't know quite when that started, but people really stepping up their stuff now.
Wait, I look forward to that part of it. I might not know who the players are, but I think you know them after their after they come out with their fits, as they say. But I think that if you think back and look back, you know, some of those big shoulder pad. Yeah. It's like there's a commercial right now about it where
Carmelo,
right?
Anthony and Perk, wide shoulder pads, zoot suits is pretty much what people are looking like. I mean, my goodness, I keep looking back at Jalen Rhodes' red zoot suit on the NBA draft the night he took it. I'm like, my people, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was in your closet as well, right, Tim?
Not the red one, the canary one. The canary yellow one.
You know, we saw some drip last week at the ABA. WNBA.
The boy Jason Whitlock he's the contrarian there. He was saying that he congratulated Angel Reese for bringing femininity back to the WNBA.
What an idiot.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Why you gotta bring that up, Tim?
Look, I'm just thinking about, Whitlock was always making mention about stuff but everybody was dressed really clean. I mean, Caitlin Clark had on Prada, so everybody was, and that's the first time they've ever outfit anybody, male or female. So, it's going to be interesting to see, because these suits that these cats will be wearing, these are some big dudes. They started those suits at Thanksgiving.
I expect to see a lot of Louis Vuitton because of Pharrell Williams. I just expect to see a lot of Louis Vuitton, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll get what we get at that point, right?
The ladies, they had to be careful with what they were wearing last week, because it's not like they are raking in the dollars, so you can't spend a lot on your fashion.
But don't you think a lot of that was donated, like with the Academy Awards? What are you wearing tonight? I'm wearing XYZ.
I think so. I think that's why you saw Prada reach out to Caitlin Clark, because they want to. It helps that brand. I mean, they've got stylists. And the players know how they want to portray themselves, and so I think that if you are a designer, and Caitlin Clark is right now, I guess, the biggest star in the WNBA, then you want to be her to be seen in your clothes.
I'm hoping that, and I think we will see an increase in salaries if the popularity continues to grow. Can't see it now because she hadn't gotten there. And I think I saw a thing, the WNBA earned $200 million compared to the NBA, where it was $6 or $7 billion a year that they earn. So we'll see what happens there. But speaking of fashion, let me tell you, it don't get no better fashion when our next guest breaks out one of his legendary bow ties with his bow tie check. I don't know if we're going to I don't know if we're lucky enough to get a bow tie check tonight. No.
Oh,
What is
man.
that Hall of Fame nonsense? Give us a bow tie.
When D-Lad checks in with his world famous bow tie check, I mean, everybody just take notice. So we're not lucky enough tonight to get the bow tie check, but we are lucky to have one of America's great sports writers on with us, our great friend, D. Orlando Ledbetter. Welcome to You Get What You Get with Tree McDougal, Tim Turner, and Rick Hampton. How you doing, D. Led?
Hey, Rick, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for those kind words. It's good to see you all this evening.
Good to see you, sir.
Hey, D-Led, will you break out the bow tie on draft day for the first round?
Probably not. Probably for the next day when the first round pick flies in. But no, the draft's a grind, so that's usually a game day thing. I broke it out for Matt Ryan's retirement yesterday, though.
That begs the question, D-Lab, how many bow ties do you have? Do you know?
I've been able to amass quite a few, but probably like between 20 and 30.
Okay. Do you have a favorite or lucky one?
Yeah, of course, my purple and gold one that one of my fraternity brothers gave to me is number one. That's if I'm wearing that, you pretty special.
All right.
And you know what, D-Lad, that the bow tie must be a Howard thing, because our mutual friend, Attorney Howard Lee out of New York City, is always donning his bow ties.
It's more a law school thing. We both he was doing it at Howard undergrad, but I didn't start wearing the bow tie till I was at the University of Cincinnati Law. And we were getting ready for a moot court competition up in Chicago at the Daly Center. And so we decided that, hey, we would look pretty sharp in some bow ties. So after we got done practicing, we stayed up late learning how to tie bow ties. One of my Kappa friends, James McLean from law school. We were both from Cleveland.
Well, you wear it well, brother. You wear it well. Hey, what are your thoughts about what's going to go down on Thursday? Just the draft in general, and then Tim and Tree and I will kind of go from there.
Yeah, you're seeing a little different approach, different players coming out. This kind of the first post-COVID crew that got in a couple seasons. The quarterbacks will be overdrafted because you don't have to keep them around if they're not any good. So that'll be one thing to watch is when the second group of quarterbacks goes. And that's Penix, Bo Knox, and JJ McCarthy. So, the first two will go 1, 2, 3. And then after that, you see some more offensive players. The Falcons will get a shot at a defensive guy. We met with the general manager today, and he was talking kind of like, trying to be as general as he could, but he was talking like, if they get a call on the clock, it's pretty serious, and they be looking to trade back. But I think, that's probably why they've been kicking around Penix a lot, because somebody wants Penix. But if they think the Falcons going to take him at 8, then they'll have to come up and pay him a little ransom to get him. But if they draft Penix, that'd be a pretty good pick to, have somebody in the hopper for when Kirk Cousins is done.
Do you really think that do you not think that the Falcons would revolt nationally or everywhere? Because all you've been hearing about is D-line, edge guy. I've been hearing about my cousin Dallas over there at Alabama. And but then come Sunday, I'm reading the AJC in this mock draft. There's a kid from UCLA that D. Orlando Ledbetter picked. And why is that?
Yeah, he's a better pass rusher than Turner, at least in some scouts analysis. Turner, they said he coasts a little bit. He really not a tough guy like Will Anderson. And this Latu kid is pretty rugged and stouter. He and I just connected the dots on that pick because he was at Washington when Jimmy Lake was there, and Jimmy Lake was the head coach who announced his retirement from neck surgery from the neck injury. And so he got well, got cleared by the doctors, tried to come back, and Washington still wouldn't clear him, but UCLA would. So, and then he had double-digit sacks. He's a technician. He's a hardworking kid. They know him. So if their medical people approve, that's the gamble of that pick is that, hey, the medical people have to sign off on it, because he had cervical neck surgery, fusion surgery.
But
So
the medicals, isn't it the same thing with even thinking about Penix?
No, he's cleared. He's clear. He had all those injuries early on at Indiana. He checked out pretty good, and he hadn't been hurt the last 2 years. That helped him out too. And then they saw him get beat up by Michigan in that championship game, where the linemen from the Pac-12 didn't know about how to get down in the Big Ten in the trenches.
and he held up well, man. He took that beating like a champ. I mean, really, that was impressive to me. And to have had those injuries, he moves around very well too. I mean, not great, but he's not.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted to call him. Yeah, they wanted to call him just a drop back quarterback, but he showed that he could move enough in that game.
Yeah,
or do you think it's a lock on Williams at 1?
Yeah, pretty much so. He's the one with the physical gifts, the gifted arm talent. Unless the Bears just met him and were turned off by him and some of his antics, they've been down this road before. They probably should get it right at some point, but they just took Trubisky and then Justin Fields. So, if they think he's, the one guy, Trevor Lawrence of this group or the Joe Burrow of this group, then they got to stay with him.
Do you think there'll be any surprises? Or you anticipate any surprises in the draft?
Yeah, Miss Tree, the one that it'll be somebody come out of nowhere, for sure. But the one that folks have been telegraphing for weeks is the Vikings, because they started stockpiling picks. Right after combine, moving up to 27 and 23, I think it is, with the Texans pick. And so they got ammo. They got a 23 and an 11, but the top 3 teams don't want to trade their picks. So they if they want JJ McCarthy, they can kind of sit. But if the Giants want them, then they got to get up in front of the Giants. So kind of got to look at Arizona and Tennessee as the teams you got to get to. But some combination of Arizona, Tennessee, Minnesota, those are the things we all know going in. But there's always, probably, tomorrow night or Wednesday, early Thursday morning, we'll start hearing a buzz about a big move. Last year it was this time we heard, not last year, but in 2011, it was on Tuesday when you started hearing about the Falcons going up to get it. We thought it was AJ Green, but we knew it was AJ Green or Julio. And that's when that trade was made with Cleveland. But it's been all quiet today on the draft front. And then you had the one year where Laramie Tunsil's people came out and put the video of him smoking a lot of weed, and that dropped him out of the top 10.
Are there any character issues this year? Because last year, the kid, the quarterback for Houston, he was too stupid to play quarterback, right? He was going to be a bust. That's the draft. Don't draft him because he can't think. He's not a good quarterback.
Well, they've been saying that about black quarterbacks for decades. I missed that on him. But the character guy is the DUI kid from Texas, the big Tavondre Sweat. He he already was telling people he had an alcohol problem. So now they're like, oh, okay, you got a real alcohol problem.
Thanks for telling me.
He just got one up front.
Hey, but Tunstall wasn't just smoking weed; he was engulfing weed.
Gas mask.
Yeah, he was in a Cheek and Chong movie.
He was engulfing weed.
Yeah.
Hey, D-Led, HBCU schools. I mean, it's been just a rough go over the years. Is it anybody this year that may come out and be drafted out of the HBCU? HBCU. I know they do the HBCU combine now, and there's always somebody that ends up, making rosters. But anybody we could keep our eye on.
Yeah, I thought the quarterbacks from Fayum and Central would get looks, but they didn't check them out at all. I had a list of like 40 HBCU kids that were pro prospects, and but the one that got the combine invite and the one you keep hearing about is the tackle from Howard, Anam Dankwa. And I did an interview and a story on him from the combine. He's 6'8", 353. Moved to Canada, and so but he's big, and and I saw in the FAMU game, the Celebration Bowl, that he wasn't blowing nobody off the ball. He should have been. We should have been able to run Edger and Son right behind him for 200 yards all day, and that just didn't happen. So they're saying he's a catcher, he's nimble, he can move, but he don't block. I mean, for being that big,
Right.
You shouldn't be catching blocks. You should be, punishing folks. So he's gonna probably go undrafted. Another story here is out of Atlanta. It's not an HBCU kid. Well, yeah, I guess he is, since he did start. He was at Lane College for a little while, but his dad died in an accident. He came home, and went through a depression period and so forth. But then his mom got him into the fan controlled football league, and next thing you know, he's in the Canadian league, CFL. They found him in this fan controlled football league, and he won the Canadian Rookie of the Year. That's Quantez Stiggers from Atlanta's Best Academy. We broke that story back in December on him, and I've been following him all the way up to the draft. Agent Fred Lyles has got him. So that's we can count him because he did go to Lane on a track scholarship.
So we got two.
That's two, and it's a couple other D-backs out of the CIAA, and the SWAC. SWAC had a couple people down at the Legacy Bowl that did pretty good, but I don't have the names.
I was going to ask you about that. I think it's the Legacy Bowls down in New Orleans, right?
Yes.
Is there any value to that? Real value to that? Because it doesn't seem like it yields a lot of ball players.
No, well, I didn't watch it that closely this year. I knew the first year they had problems with the lines and getting enough players along the line. But that's Doug Williams and the Black College Hall of Fame folks and Shaq Harris. So yeah, you gotta build. You gotta get the schools to buy in more and send their players and just the different exposure and getting more people into the other bowls too would help. The Blue Gray and Senior Bowl would help out also. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a startup and it's a great concept. So yeah, I'm not expecting it to be, we be too hard on our own stuff sometimes. So I'm giving them a lot of grace and hoping that they could, it'll eventually turn into what they, their vision is of being a Black College All-Star game that helps players get into the league and, get jobs and so forth, all the job fair stuff they do with the kids down there also.
No, I'm not being hard on it. My thing was more so the NFL. They scout the games, or they scout the games during the year, and then they come to the bowl game. Do they scout the kids as hard as they would say mid-major kids or whatever? That's what I was getting more so than that.
Yeah, I don't know that they've had, just out of respect for Doug and Shaq, most all the teams have sent somebody down there. Now are they gonna grade them, on a curve, or I don't know you know, you gotta have some parameters on height, weight, speed measurables that they're looking for. So they got that locked in, and it should be some like the Howard kid's in because he's so big. But
Yeah.
I ain't seeing block nobody.
Yeah.
And I'll be watching the games. You know, but he got the right height, weight, speed. So he's a prospect now.
And I think we all know the talent level just at the HBCUs just isn't what it used to be. So, but we're always hoping somebody will show up. Hey, D-Leg, you have covered the NFL for a while, and hey, first black man to be president of Pro Football Writers Associations. Kudos to you on that, my brother. But also just the development of the black quarterback in the league. Have you seen that change from, you know, we had a sprinkle of guys here and there to where we are today, where the guys are the league is littered with black QBs playing at the highest level. You know, you look at Pat Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Can you describe how the league got there, or how you sense it got there?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you can, you know, if you know we know the history going all the way back to Marlon Briscoe, Jefferson Street Joe Gilliam, and through the 70s, James Harris, and you know, even kids. We know what happened to Warren Moon and Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward would be a $250 million quarterback right now. Yeah. They changed the height, weight measurables at the position. Yeah. Russell Wilson, you could point to him doing that. That was the biggest breakthrough, was Russell Wilson succeeding as a 5'11-ish, 6'1" quarterback. So that opened the door for Deshaun Watson and you know, some of the other smaller quarterbacks that still had the arm talent and so forth. So you know, that variable changed, and you can you know, the scouts will attribute it to Russell Wilson. Because before that, you thought that the profile was 6'5", slow white guy with the big arm, Ben Roethlisberger.
Hey, D-Leg, do you think that's what Russ was speaking to the other day when he talked about how he set the tone for black quarterbacks?
I don't follow Russ. Kind of too corny for me, but I'm a future guy. but that sounds right.
You said too corny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's not my flow. But I know I've heard scouts say that, so he's probably alluding to that also.
Well, that was some sort of beef between he and Shannon Sharp over quarterbacks or the history of black quarterbacks in the NFL, and it seemed like Shannon thought that he was dismissing those who'd come before him, and it was just. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, that could. Well, I'll let them handle that on one of them on the station show. But you know, he is a historical figure in the change. That is a fact, whether Shannon wants to admit it or not. He is. He produced for a little guy. And now we see a bunch of little guy quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. The kid Jaden Daniels, he's pretty big. He's 6'4". 210, so he's big. Caleb's only right around 6'1", 6'2". So Drake May 6'5". He's the old prototype. Penix is a little guy too, 6'1", 6'2". Bo Nix is bigger, and JJ McCarthy's a 6'3-ish kind of quarterback. So and now you got to be able to move because the defensive players are so better. And quicker that, you know, you can't just be there as a target standing there all game in the pocket. You got to be able to throw on the move and move that pocket around and get those big guys tired.
But what about in Carolina? You got the quarterback there, and he's a real slight guy. And I think he got beat up a lot last year. And do you think about that when you're drafting a quarterback, the durability of him when you might have not the best offensive line around you? knowing your guy, this is your franchise guy getting hammered every week.
And I was worried about him the whole season.
Yes.
Yeah, and they went out and spent a lot of money to put some blockers in front of him, which makes a lot of sense now. But yeah, he's another guy that wouldn't have got drafted 15 years ago because he was so little. But you saw him do his thing at Alabama and throw that ball around. So you gotta put folks around him. They were saying that about Matt Ryan when he came here. He was 6'5", 210, and they were like, "Oh, he's too skinny. He's gonna get lit up." But they didn't know how tough and how durable he was, and lasted all of 14 years as a top flight starter and 128 games.
Hey, D-Lad, how were the Falcons ever in on Justin? Gosh, I'm forgetting Justin's last name.
Fields, no.
Now go ahead and tell the story. Like it's crazy.
No, they wasn't in on him or Russell. But coming out of the draft, they had the 4th pick. They could have took him. But the thing was, the Ohio State people, the Falcons people were connected to the Ohio State folks. So they knew Stabline and all the coaches up there. And they bought into the the processing thing, that he couldn't process stuff and that it takes him longer to deliver the ball. And I see that too.
Yeah.
So if you know that he can't run your offense the way you want it to be ran, then you take the tight end and you try to get a quarterback later, which they tried to do with Ritter. And so that didn't work out either. So, but yeah, that's.
You see how it worked out where Smith didn't want Fields when he came out, but now they're together in Pittsburgh now. He's quarterback there, and Smith is offensive coordinator. So
right, but Smith's gonna run the ball with him, so they're gonna do what they gotta do to win. So that would have been my thought. I'm like, if okay, he's not a classic drop back quarterback, so now I'm not gonna play that way. I'm gonna put in an offense for him to play with. Michael Vick ran a high school offense for Dan Reeves. He ran the sweep with work done, and when he got tired of that, he kept it and ran the other way. And then if that didn't work, he just threw the ball to Algie Crumpler.
At least in Pittsburgh, he'll be behind Russ and maybe be able to learn something from watching Russ. And Tomlin's going to throw a couple of packages in there to use him running that ball.
Now with this year's draft delay, there was a lot of. It seems like outside of quarterback, the next highest value position is the O-line, isn't it?
Yeah, there are a lot of tackles. We're gonna see a lot of tackles go in this draft, starting with the big kid from Notre Dame or the Alabama kid. He's probably the meanest and toughest, but he had 17 penalties over the last couple years, so you got to kind of calm him down a little bit. But there's some good tackles out there. I can't say some of their names: Falasa, Fiaga, Fontana. I gotta get Steve Weiss to help me with my Samoan pronunciation.
A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the new rules, and I think it was about tackling. I think that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So how do you think that will, thinking about new players who are coming into the league and they've been used to, and it's going to impact current players as well, but how do you think new players would adjust to those new rules, even though they're just coming in?
Yeah, we saw with the horse collar tackle mystery that, people stop trying to drag people down from the back of their neck. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is the in Troy, I was in the meeting in Indianapolis where Troy Vincent was explaining it to a group of us from the media. It's only when you elevate yourself in the air to bring somebody down. So you got them wrapped up and then you jump up in the air, and they have a name for it. It's dislodging yourself or something like that. But once you do that, then that's a violation of the hip tackle rule. You can still hip tackle, but you can't jump to help you give you momentum to take them down.
Well,
So
that's a great question, by the way, Trey, because see, my understanding of it, and I'm glad you explained it a little bit, D-Led, is that you got just maybe this much space to tackle now. The strike point is really reduced under the new rule. Is that not a fact?
um yeah, it's a fact, but you still can you can still hit, wrap, and lift. I mean, when you get into problems with all these rugby tackles and drag tackles and non-traditional tackling methods, just hit the guy and knock him down. And they stop taking out the knees, but that's another way too. Just grab, get them low and go through the legs. But we're there's you can't go up high because your helmet's gonna hit. So hit, wrap, and lift. You can pull out the old Bo Schembechler for fundamentals of tackling tape, and we never see a fundamental hit, wrap, and lift anymore. When you do, you're like, oh my gosh, you get all excited because there's somebody doing their good fundamental tackling.
That
But
knows how to tackle.
there's a thing where I think it's Harton, the tight end for the Vikings, and he made a point. It was like I think he had some sort of like 8-9 month rehab from a knee injury, and he was like, I'd rather have my bell rung or get hit high and be out maybe a couple of games than to spend 9 months rehabbing a knee. Because I thought then when they said start hitting people high, there's going to be a rash of knee injuries. That really didn't happen, but folks are getting their knees blown up. Do you think now the guys will say, okay, maybe take the risk of getting to 15 by taking somebody up high or hitting them a little bit higher?
No, because the coaches ain't gonna let those 15-yard penalties pile up like that. It ain't gonna be nobody teaching nobody to do that to take them out up high. And then the guy with the concussions, that the league don't want to hear that, because then 40 years down the road his family's suing them because he's got CTE or something. So that was just an ignorant comment on his part. But I think it's Hawkinson. I think he was one of the hip drop tackle guys too. And so did Mark Andrews from the Ravens was one of those guys that ankle and hip and knee went out on that hip drop tackle.
But it seems to me, D-Led, if they want to address safety issues, and we all know it is a violent sport where injuries are going to occur, but it seems like they would address the turf. The field here in Detroit, I mean, they spend millions of dollars on it, but you walk on it, still feels like concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we met with the new president of the NFLPA, and off the record at the Super Bowl, and then at the NABJ. He came to the NABJ get together at the combine. And one of the things we were talking about was how much would it cost to strike. So the players ain't gonna strike because it costs too much. It was like $10 billion to strike. And so but one thing that they have in their favor on the field conditions is the World Cup's coming here in a couple years, and guess what? All the stadiums gonna have grass.
I was just about to say that.
Soccer people ain't having it. So I'm like, you can do it, but the TV networks, I'm blaming them because they were the ones complaining about the mud infields and the dirt, in Cleveland and Oakland, because it didn't look pretty on TV to have these grass and, dirt soft fields. So all of a sudden, everybody's got all these pretty carpets out there that look good on TV. And so I'm going to blame TV for those safety issues.
Yeah, okay. Never thought of it like that.
I thought it was just they're being cheap and thinking it's the durability of the turf.
It costs more. It'd be cheaper to just have dirt and grass out there.
Hey, D-Led, you talked about the offensive lineman being at a premium. it seems like the running backs have fell off a cliff. I mean, last year the Falcons drafted an outstanding running back. Lions got one, two from Alabama, Jameer Gibbs. But I hadn't heard anybody talk about running backs going early in this draft at all, not even in the first round.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The league has gone to a passing league to where, the running back has been, minimized. Everybody's running wide, 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers. The best running back is the kid Brenton down at Florida State and Brooks at Texas. But the Brooks back, he hurt his knee in November. So, he's going to have to come back, and you're looking at second-round picks for him. It's a bunch of other little backs that are doing pretty good. Kamari Vidal from Troy. He's an Atlanta kid, went to Marietta High. Durable, 1,600-yard seasons. That'll be, he might not get drafted, though. He might be a 5th, 6th, 7th rounder. So, but the kid out of Texas and the kid out of Florida State, those are 2 big running backs. They're a little bit bigger, kind of Joe Mixon mode. One of those 2 guys will get going. I could pull up my list of the top 10 running backs, but that'd be cheating. That's just right here.
Cheating is allowed here, sir.
Okay.
I was going to ask about Bowers from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking that up? What do you have? What's your comments about him?
Yeah, he's Brock Bowers. I mean, he moved around. They played him in a lot of different spots. He was very dangerous. He's not a blocker. They're not even like saying, oh yeah, he's gonna block. But he was a playmaker, considered to be the top 5, one of the top 5 players in the draft, but probably will go a little bit later than that because the quarterbacks are going to push him down. So he could go to the Jets, he could go to the Titans at 5, and he won't get past the Bengals at 18 because when you watch him on tape, he's making plays all over the field.
Do you think it'd be a reach for your hometown team to go after somebody like him, even when they had Pitts?
That would be I mean, they could say they're doing the best player available, that's for sure. But I think that would be a little too much. And that was Terry's first draft pick, and so they're trying to make sure that he can. He's gonna get every opportunity over the next 2 years to show that he was worth that number 4 overall pick.
Is he healthy finally?
I didn't see him today when we were out there. They're telling us he is, so we'll assume that he is until we see him in person.
All right.
When you say they are telling us, who is they?
The Falcons, yeah. Terry and
okay.
Raheem.
Okay.
Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
I got a question in terms of, number one, how the job has changed. Is access to the players what it used to be? And talk about the NFL deciding not to do anything with the Falcons and the Eagles in terms of tampering. And why don't they just open the window up to negotiate a little earlier anyway?
The tampering thing, they're gonna wait, so that gives them some time to get ready for next year's draft. Now I think what might come out of this is like, okay, what y'all did was prudent. You got somebody hurt, they should be able to meet with the medical staff. So that's that maybe that change will come. The access is not what it used to be. We had a kid here, Calvin Ridley. He was good until, he got in trouble. Then we never heard from him. And then when he comes back, he does a Players Tribune thing where he gets to, just say, hey, this is what happened to me. And, not have to take any questions or anything like that. So they're insulated by their agents now. More. You got a lot of people that are like, hey, I'm not talking. I want to put it on my social media. So yeah, it's changed a lot. And so what you gotta try to do is build your relationships and have your guys in the locker room that make sure that you know what's going on and so forth. But that's the access is definitely changed, and the teams try to control the message that they want out. And they have their own website. It's 4 people from the Falcons website page was at the interview today. It was 2 of us from the AJC, but so
Wow.
they're trying
Yeah.
to match and do as much as we do.
Yeah.
So but fans know, if they want a real story, they know where to go. If they want some puff piece where they're trying to sell them tickets, they know to go to the team website. But if they want to know why Kyle Pitts is really not doing this thing, they know that's going to be in the AJC or in one of the Associated Press stories. But hey, I got the list of the top 10 running backs for you here. The first one is Trey Benson out of Florida State, 6'2", 223. Blake Corum from Michigan, Jonathan Brooks from Texas, Audric Estime from Notre Dame, and then Jalen Wright from Tennessee. Those are the top 5 running backs we got in the draft. And some interesting one is Will. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Pitts is gonna blow up with Kirk Cousins there, man. That's gonna be great for Pitts.
Well, that'll be good to see, because I've seen it in bits and pieces. When Matt Ryan was here last year, Matt Ryan could still throw a jump ball up the sideline then, and he would go get it every so often. He'd had trouble coming across the middle. He didn't like those in-cutting routes in Arthur Smith's system, because they ran you right into the safety, and that's how his knee got blew up.
Yeah, well, that plus the quarterback threw the pass. I was like, no.
Yeah. But he had a really nice red zone grab with Ritter last year against Houston. Just a straight seam route, timing route that, I'm like, why don't we see that more often? But, you can see the physical tools and ability, but now you want to see him do it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Now you talk about team control as far as the messaging on everybody. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about the really super long delay in the first press conference with Raheem Morris, and there was no rationale to drag that out over the period that it is. So, is it a team by team thing that even if you, as a visiting journalist, could you have more different access to different teams? Like Carolina may be more amenable to you than even your home people.
Oh yeah, I get it all the time. If I need anybody from the Rams, I'm good. Artist is gonna take care of me. Twyman, I got my guy Chad Steele in Baltimore. Whenever I need Kyle Hamilton, he's from Atlanta. I could just call his mom, but if I need him,
connections.
Kyle, he'll get me to Kyle. Probably want to try to do something on him before he goes back, since he made All Pro this year. But yeah, so you kind of gotta do the old school. Hey, I need your number. I'm not gonna call you unless it's important. I'm not gonna call you to, hey, let's go play golf. But so you just gotta go old school. Hey, they're blocking. Sometimes I need to talk to you. Long as if I can get it done in the locker room, I'll get it done in the locker room. But like, now you kind of like the old school days. You need some guys' numbers at home. Because the stuff starts happening, they're not making them available for you. They're going to block you.
Yeah.
So it's about building relationships.
Yeah. And trust, and, try to go to their charity events and see like, hey, let me get your number. I'm not going to call you unless it's, news related, and so forth. And so, but these young cats they switch their phones out so much. It's hard to get to him. Me and Julio were tight. I had all 4 of his numbers, but he didn't want to talk to nobody. So that whole thing went down, I was like, well, at least I'm not getting beat. But I thought we was cool, and turns out we are cool, and I, just if my, but he wasn't, he didn't talk to any media, so that was just him. He's a little different cat.
Well, D-Led, we just got a couple more minutes, man, and we certainly appreciate you checking in with us. We always enjoy the conversation, and just to get some insight, man, from all your experience over the years. And you mentioned Julio Jones, and you are on the Hall of Fame committee. Is he a first ballot selection?
Ooh, I learned not to call. I mean, if you got to ask, then they're not. Okay, like Tom Brady, he good.
He is
Deion good. Brett Favre was good. I don't.
Julio's really close in my estimation.
Yeah, but you got Larry. The receivers are hard because it took Terrell for long to get in. I was fighting for him from the beginning.
Well, D-Led, wasn't it?
We had a backup.
Isn't a lot of that how these guys relate to the media? If they have favorites, if the media likes you, there's a greater chance, because Owens didn't ingratiate himself with the media.
Nah, but these were well, that's how it used to work. But a lot of those old dudes are gone. So I don't want to say their names, but I mean, like, okay, he was in Philly. He pissed off the whole Philly media. So who's gonna present him from Philly in a good light?
Yeah.
And in Dallas, he's that was Shireen. She would have did it, but I mean, your media person is gonna be the one presenting you. And if let's just say you wanted to lift your weights in the driveway and get a story to some little kid, then the whole Philly media is, they don't care about you anymore. So yeah, there are some dynamics like that. The other way is, hey, Matt Ryan was great to the media for 14 straight years. If he wanted to take one day off, well, nobody gonna complain about it. So, and then when he comes up, he'll get probably the best presentation I can come up with, and which was pretty good. I'm on the last one to get a kicker in. If I get in Morton Anderson, I think I got a shot for Matt Ryan.
Hey, are there any? I'm sorry. Are there any HBCU guys on the veterans list? Because the guy that comes to mind for me is Otis Taylor.
Yeah, Otis got close last year. We had Art Powell was in there. I don't remember which school he was. He's a Raider AFL guy, but he got further than I thought. There is a movement for Otis, because him and Cliff Branch were right there together. So we just got Cliff squared away. Too bad he wasn't with us by the time they got it figured out. But yeah, I'll get into that right after the draft, because I'm like, I'm on the seniors committee. I don't know what dates are the meetings. I know I had Sterling Sharp last year, so I'll have to present him. The meetings I think are in August and June, so I'll be okay. But yeah, certainly Otis Taylor, somebody that's got a lot of momentum that we can see coming through the seniors committee here in hopefully in due time.
I can see Otis catching that little square off from Lynn Dawson and turning it up the field against the Vikings for that touchdown.
I liked him when he'd be on the sidelines. He had a baseball card with his Chiefs. They had the raincoats with the hoodies back in the day. They were so sweet. Yeah. Those are sweet. You throw that out on the field.
Where can people read your work and tell us about the Bowtie Chronicles?
Yeah, they could read my work on ajc.com for our subscribers. I tweet everything out on the Twitter X at the Orlando AJC. And we just finished the 462nd episode of the Bowtie Chronicles podcast.
Wow.
Everything you need to know about the Atlanta Falcons. We just did a draft preview show with the general manager. So that'll be coming to you tomorrow morning. You can follow the show on Twitter, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
That's a good commercial. Thank you. It's perfect.
Hey, D-Leg, thank you so much, brother, for checking in with us, man.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you all so much. I'm going to get back here I got a couple of things to write and some papers to grade.
All right, brother. Talk to you later, D-Leg. D. Orlando Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We really, I could talk to D-Leg all night. I know he got stuff to do, but you could just talk football with him, just any kind of thing, just all night. Hey, we got a couple of more minutes left. Tim, you got any gripes you want to share with us this week, man?
I got a lot of problems for you people. No, I just thought last night's NBA action was outstanding. TNT got really lucky with two games that, came down to like last shots, essentially. You watch the Knicks, the referees jack up the Philadelphia 76ers with some bad calls late that allowed New York to come in and get that win. And then the poor Lakers, you think they're going to be swept, but they had a 20-point lead last night on Denver and lost on a fall-away jump shot by Murray to lose 101-99, which kept, as of the last night's games, the home teams were 11-0.
Unbelievable.
And LeBron was mad.
Well, they got a bad call, but
he was cussing.
You can't blow a 20-point lead in a player.
You can't blow that. You can't blow a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. You can't do any of those things.
But yet, people still do.
Yeah, people do that. Yes.
I was talking to our friend Matt Calvin, and we'll have to get Mac on to talk some NBA. And he was talking about that altitude. He said, you watch the fourth quarter, these games. He said that altitude is real out there. That's why they have it on the jerseys. I forgot exactly what it is.
They have it on the court right there. They have the exact elevation on the court to remind you.
Just to remind you.
You can't breathe here.
Yeah. And the Lakers, they have faded every game against them. But Denver's, they're the defending champs. They are a good team. But it's good to have the NBA playoffs here. I'm excited about the Major League Baseball season. We actually have a decent team here in Detroit, so my Tigers are off to a great start. But Tim, you were talking about the rash of injuries to pitchers, and I just don't understand why that happens these days when you consider how the number of pitches and the number of innings they go are monitored so tightly.
Well, that's the thing. That's probably it, because these guys are specialists too early in their life. These kids are coming up now been specialists. They aren't allowed to play, football, baseball, basketball, track. These people say you're a baseball player, do nothing but baseball, and you're wearing yourself out. And it's all about velocity. And you're throwing the ball harder, and you got to throw it faster because you got so many seconds between pitches. And you're hurting yourself that way. All this kind of stuff, because like old school Nolan Ryan, country dude, one game he pitched, he threw 239 pitches. That's 2 1/3 games right now in baseball. That was one game for him. So it's not like he didn't get to 100 pitches. They said we got to go get Noli, because he probably would have jumped out there and beat him like he beat Robin Ventura that time, when he grabbed him around the head and gave him a bunch of noogies. But now we can't have anybody going over 100 pitches. It's insane.
That is a great point, man. I hadn't thought about that with the clock and everything now. those things. And I certainly agree with you with the stress that's put on those arms from little league, to high school, and it is that you only have so many fastballs in your arm. That is for sure.
Well, it's fastballs, but I know coming up, they would not let a kid in little league, even if you could, you couldn't throw a curve. You couldn't throw it in high school until later. But now these kids up here, throwing, sliders in little league.
So you're saying because they're doing it earlier?
Oh yeah,
more injury prone.
Yeah, they're doing it earlier, and one thing, it's like they're one repetitive motion. They're not allowed to play other sports, lift weights, and do stuff to play basketball and track and anything else but be baseball players. And the same with the other sports. This specialization stuff, there are no really all-around athletes anymore. Yeah. These kids, they don't know how to play different positions and that kind of thing. I think that's a real problem with it right now.
That's a great point. Hey, a great show, Tree and Tim. Really enjoyed. I hope everybody out there enjoyed talking with the Orlando Ledbetter and getting some insight on the draft from him. And we'll be back next week. We'll be able to look at what happens at the draft this week and see where we are with the NBA playoffs and where we are with the start of the baseball season and anything else that comes up between now and then. But until then, for my great friends, Tim Turner and Tree McDougal, I'm Rick Hampton.
All right. Be kind.